Time for My Boat.
Home entertainment systems have continued to improve in quality, especially since the advent of HD television. Now HD is available for your boat, so this week on My Boat, we're going to install the latest satellite system from Intellian that simultaneously receives both standard definition and high definition television. The first step in installing a satellite system is selecting the location for the antenna unit. The antenna must have a clear view of the horizon and transmitting satellite all around without interference from obstacles. So we had pre-ordered an antenna stand to ensure that the satellite antenna was above the radar radome. Ultimately, the best location was deemed to be where the original TV antenna was, so we proceeded to remove the original antenna and mount. One of the most difficult tasks in this project is providing access to run the cables. Matt and I have spent hours opening up access points starting here at the radar arch, working our way down to the base of the arch, and all the way through to where the television's installed in the cabinet, so we have access to fish the cables. With access points opened up, it was time to start fishing the RF and data cables. And to make the task easier and to fish and pull the cable only once, we started by taping the cables together. To split the distance to fish the cables, we started in the head, where I taped the cables to the fish, then fed the cable in, while Matt rewound the fish and pulled the cables into the cockpit, then through the cabinet at the base of the arch. After determining the length of cable required to reach the antenna mounting position on the arch, the fish was fed through and the cable pulled up to the satellite antenna position. Positioning the stand and using the base as a template, the locations of the mounting holes were marked and the 4 holes were then drilled in the fiberglass. Silicone sealant was first applied to the holes in the radar arch, then to the base plate of the stand. After feeding the RF and data cables through the stand center, the stand was secured to the arch with number 6 stainless screws. Next, we prepared the satellite antenna for mounting by removing the screws and opening up the radome to remove the shipping constraints that secure the antenna from moving. With the radome back on the antenna, we hoisted it up and attached the RF cables as indicated and secured the radome in place on the stand with the supplied bolts. Back down below, we finished off the cables by fishing a power line into the head and up to the back of the electrical panel and fished the RF and data cables behind the galley through to the entertainment center. Opening up the DC half of the boat's electrical panel allowed us to feed in the satellite system's power cable, strip its wires, crimp on ring terminals, then attach the positive lead to the new circuit breaker and mount the breaker in the panel. The negative line was then connected to the panel's DC negative bus, and the panel was reinstalled and powered up. Well, we've got the biggest part of the project behind us, mounting the antenna, and certainly all the time and effort it took to run the cabling down here to the salon on the boat. Now we're going to do the easy part, which is hooking up the antenna controller and the satellite receiver and getting the TV up and running. First, the RF and the antenna is attached to the ACU, then the 12-volt power supply from the panel is plugged in. Then connect an RF cable from the ACU to your satellite receiver. Finally, connect your TV to your preferred video source on the receiver. With the 12-volt power supply turned on, I powered up the ACU and the unit self-initialized and began communicating with the antenna. Well, that's a wrap on another My Boat project. Now, it wasn't really as hard as it looked. The toughest part was pulling the wiring through from the antenna on the radar arch to the location for the television and receivers, but that's just because of the layout of this particular boat. Mounting the Intellian antenna on the radar arch was quite straightforward, and hooking up the satellite control unit here was really quite easy. The only area you might suffer a little bit of a challenge with is following through on the instructions here, but it is fairly straightforward to program the satellite receiver for the dish you want to receive in your area of North America.